Hello and welcome to today's FS2 Parent Reading Workshop. Now, the main aims of this session today is for you to work out how you can best support your child with their reading at home. Now, what are we aiming for? By the end of the year, we are aiming that all children in FS2 reach something we call the early learning goal. Now, the early learning goal simply means that your child is at the age-related expectation for where they should be at the end of FS2. Now, our early learning goal for reading is split into two categories: comprehension and word reading. As you can see, word reading focuses in on the children understanding how to say each sound for each letter, how to read words consistent with their phonic knowledge, and to be able to read simple sentences using their phonetic knowledge and some common words. When we look at our comprehension, it's also important to remember that children have to demonstrate an understanding about what has been read. They need to anticipate where appropriate key events of the story, maybe even make predictions, and to use some key vocabulary they may have heard or read in several stories. Now, how do we get children to the early learning goal for reading? First of all, I'd like us to have a look at this page. What skills do you think are needed to make sense of this page? Now, as an adult, we take reading sometimes for granted. I often like this task because I think it gives us an opportunity to think about what it would be like for children in FS2 learning to read. Really, they're just going to be looking at symbols. Now, without understanding what each of these symbols mean, we will not be able to make sense of the page, exactly the same as reading. If we aren't able to understand which sounds match which letters, we can't blend them together to read words. It's also important to remember skills like there's a space in between the words, understanding where one word finishes and the next one begins. And as if that's not complicated enough, we also have to have some comprehension, some understanding and some background information about the story. Now, as an adult, I can look at this picture and probably make a good prediction about what this story is about. I could predict that the characters might be bears by looking at the pictures. I could probably guess that it's going to happen somewhere cold, or maybe that it's winter time. Potentially, these bears may have woken up from hibernation. These are skills your children also need to have when reading. Can they look at the pictures? Can they make predictions or understand what is happening? Do they understand what symbols they're reading? Can they understand the sounds that each of those letters make? Now, I also want to go through some key language that you might hear your teachers using at school. Sound recognition. Sound recognition is simply understanding that each letter of the alphabet also has a sound. For example, M makes a sound mm. Now, when we are reading, we encourage children to only read using their sound recognition, not using the alphabet. Children should not be reading C-A-T, instead they should read K-A-T, understanding that each letter may make a sound. The next word is segmenting. Segmenting is when you take a word and you hear or say each sound in it. So if we're looking at the word cat again, segmenting would mean k-a-t, understanding that there are 3 sounds in the word cat. Now, blending means simply putting it all together. K-a-t, cat. I've used my segmenting and blending skills together. The next step along would be fluency. Now, fluency is when you can read words or simple sentences with a more fluent behaviour, understanding that every word that we're saying has a chance to sink in. You may read words, the cat sat on the mat, and encourage your child to go over it, read it one more time. That will increase their fluency. Now, once your child has strong fluency, this will impact their comprehension. Comprehension simply means that they understand what has been read to them. Red words. Now, red words are our irregular words. They're words that we can't sound out, such as words like the or my. We encourage in phonics for children to recognise these as red words. Common words are words that we find common in books. For example, mum or dad, cat, dog. If you're reading the story Top Cat that we'll come on to look at later, you'll be able to see words like top and cat repeatedly throughout the story. This would mean that we would hope that children would begin to recognize these words and not need to segment and blend them every time. Okay, so let's get started and let's share a book together. Before we start, we always need to make sure that we are creating a calm, quiet, and distraction-free environment. Really consider the timing of your read. Is it late at night? Is your child tired? Maybe you can move this time to the morning. Think about noise, phones away, TVs away, devices away. Keep it positive. And most important, 10 minutes. If you take one thing away from today, always take that magic number 10. Now, sitting comfortably doesn't have to be sat at a table. Reading can happen almost anywhere. Anywhere that your child feels comfortable and safe to engage in a love of reading. They could be laying on the floor. They could be standing up. They could be in a cozy den. Wherever your child feels comfortable to engage in reading should be encouraged. Now, before you start reading, it's important to remember that your child needs to handle the book themselves. I know as adults, sometimes we want to hold the book. We think it's going to speed things up. However, it's really important that your child holds the book by themselves and that they hold it carefully, the correct way up. Before we even think about reading, we start by making some predictions and we look at the front cover. What do you think this story could be about? Have a look at the pictures. Who might the characters be? Oh dear, let's have a look at this cat in the background. How do you think he's feeling? I wonder why he feels that way. Do you think he feels the same as the cat at the front? I wonder why they have different feelings. What do you think could happen in this story? Now, we've just spent a couple of moments just talking about it before we've even looked at the title. Next, we would read the title. Cat, naps, naps. Let's read it again. Cat, naps. I wonder what a nap means. Here is the opportunity for you to really pull about what this story is going to be about. Next, we are going to be allowing for the child to turn the pages by themselves. Always start by looking at the pictures. What do you think's happening in this picture? Does it look like a comfortable place for Top Cat to have a nap? Next, we would read with our segmenting and blending skills. It, kit, cat, had a nap in a sun hat. Now your child may need to segment and blend each of those words. Kit, cat, at, had. But what's important is that we always go back over for fluency. Kit, cat, had a nap. Kit Kat had a nap. Where do you think he's going to have a nap? In a sun hat. For fluency, always read it back one more time. Kit Kat had a nap in a sun hat. Please remember, blending is a skill and it just takes time and practice. Now, after 5 minutes of reading, it's time for us to stop. Now, our magic number was 10, so I wonder, what are we going to do for those next 5 minutes? Now, the next 5 minutes are all based on the comprehension. We spent the first 5 minutes thinking carefully about reading. Now it's time for us to work on those comprehension skills. This is where we really have to focus in on our questioning. Where is the story happening? How do you know? What might Kit Kat do next? Where else could Top Cat take a nap? Let's see if we can remember. Where did Top Cat have a nap first in the story? Why did he choose this place? Now, questions like this encourage your child both to think about what they've read and make predictions. Now, different level reading books will be available throughout the year. But even if you have a book that looks like this, where your child is right at the beginning of their reading journey, there is still several opportunities for really detailed comprehension. Here we could make some lovely predictions. How do you think Dad is going to get the apple down? Why do you think Dad is so desperate to get the apple? How could we help him? Oh, look at this boy at the end. I wonder why he's laughing. Now let's have a quick recap of what is really important. Always create a calm, quiet, and distraction-free environment. Remember to sit comfortably somewhere that might suit your child. Children need to hold the book carefully and always start by taking time to look at the front cover. When you read, begin to allow the children to turn the pages by themselves. Look at the pictures and talk. Then it's time to actually read the words. Focus on that segmenting and blending, followed by fluency. Always stop after 5 minutes, and the next 5 minutes are where you will talk about what has been read and what can happen next. Now, questions are really important. So it's important here to look at what is the difference between an open question and a closed question. An open question is our main goal. Open questions allow children to give several answers, to use their imagination and to explore some of their own ideas. Whereas closed questions will often only give us one right or wrong answer. Now, there's obviously always the right time to use a closed question, but we will always aim to try to use as many open as possible. Here are some examples. How do you know? Where? Why? Can you explain? What could happen next? Why do you think? And if you are still stuck, you can always turn to the back page of your child's reading book. There will always be some comprehension questions there. Let's have a look at some questions here. I want you to have a think. Are these open questions, good questions to ask, or are they closed questions? Did Molly have a dog? Now, this is a closed question. We can only answer yes or no. Do you think Molly was kind? Again, this is a bit of a closed question. We can only answer yes or no, but we could turn this into an open question by saying, why? Or when did you see this? We could make it an even better question by saying, how did Molly behave? When did you see her behave this way? Next question, what was Molly's dog's name? Now, although this is a closed question, this could be a good question to see if your child's understood what has been read. Why was Mum cross? This is an open question, but we could extend that question even further by asking, how did Mum feel? Why do you think she felt that way? Is a dog a good pet, and why? I like this one. This allows your child to use their own imagination and create their own ideas. Now, parents often ask, what do I do when I've finished reading? I want to do that little bit more. Now, there are several activities that can complement reading and just make it that little bit more enjoyable. Often children would love to retell the story or even write their own next part. Let children look for books that interest them. And you know what? You can read the same book over and over again if it is of an interest to your child. You could always practice some writing based upon the story you've read. What was your favourite part? Who was your favourite character? You could create a new character for the story and even add your own describing labels. Now, this is a great game. You could play search for the red words. How many red word I can you find? How many red words you? Let's see who can spot it the fastest. And even just drawing a simple part of your favourite bit of the story will just help your child end their reading experience with an enjoyable task. So here are 3 main questions. How do I ensure my child concentrates? How can I make reading fun and engaging? And how do I encourage my child to segment, blend and read sentences? Now, to ensure your child concentrates, just remember that magic number, 10 minutes. Anything longer than 10 minutes, you may find your child will naturally lose concentration. Also think carefully about the time of day and the space that you're reading in. How can I make reading fun and engaging? Again, are they comfortable? Is it a book they enjoy? There's no reason why as an adult, we can't read the story or take a turn in doing a page each. My turn, your turn. Keep it fun, keep it engaging, and keep it positive. Now, the magic question of how do I encourage my child to blend and read sentences? This one is the trickiest one of all. There is no magic fix for blending. It just comes with practice and modeling over and over again. One day it will click. And once your child understands that skill of segmenting blending, you will not be able to hold them back. Now, I have got some questions that I was sent during the phonics engagement reading, so I'm just going to answer those in one moment. Before we go, I've also got some helpful apps and websites you may find you would like to look at home. Okay, so here are some of the questions we were asked during the engagement. Where can I get support with phonics and saying the correct sounds? Now, there are many videos available on YouTube which follow the read writing program that we use in school. We also have recordings from the parent phonics workshop that was held earlier on in the year, and these can also be sent home. Can we recommend any books for beginners or a book list of the best books? Now, personally, I would favour an Oxford Reading Tree or the Oxford Reading Tree Songbirds. These are designed for emergent and early readings. They also follow phonics patterns. These are really handy, and these are the ones that we send home from school. How to teach words that rhyme. Now, this can be fun. Games, songs, nursery rhymes are a really great starting point. We often play games where, as a teacher, we start the sentence to see if the child can finish it using a rhyming word. For example, the cat sat on the... Does your child automatically go to say mat? You can also look at the words. Can the children recognise that they end with the same letters? When will reading books be sent home from school? Now, reading books will start to go home this term. And also, your children will soon have access to the online learning platform of Bug Club. So keep an eye out for more information on this. That magic question again, how do I encourage my child to blend if they can only segment? Simply, this comes down to practice, 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 and modelling is key. If your child is able to segment but not blend, for example, t-op, but they can't quite get that word top, we can prompt. For example, if your child says t-op, often I would say t-op, ta, ta, and I stretch out that word for them to see if they can finish it. This type of prompting is an acceptable way and a really great encouraging way to help your child to begin to segment and blend. But there is no magic fix. We have to just keep practicing. Now, I hope you found this information session helpful today.